Hi, welcome to the Intro to Reflections Google Slides presentation. My name is Rebecca Pitts, and I will be your guide on this amazingly informational journey. If you do not already have a copy of our local leaders guide, you can download any part that you need at www.utahpta.org/reflections. Reflections was created to help all students explore their own thoughts, feelings, and ideas, develop artistic literacy, increase confidence, and find a love for learning that will help them become more successful in school and in life. How does Reflections work? The students reflect on a common theme and use their imagination to create original works of art. All participants celebrate and share their artistic works with their family, school, and community. In Utah, we have several levels that Reflections follows. The first level is called local, and that's you, unless you are at the council or region level. The local means you're at an elementary school, a middle school, a junior high, or a high school. After the local level, the artwork advances either to the council or the region, depending on where you live. Some of our regions do not have councils, and some of them do. So you'll just have to ask, if you don't already know, if your region has councils or not. For example, Region 5 does have councils, and Region 12 does not. So after the region level is the state level. That's the level that I am the reflection specialist for, and after that we have our national level, and that's the top. In Utah we have 21 regions. Most of our regions comprise a school district, but some of them have several school districts that feed into that one region. And if you don't know what region you're in, you can reach out and ask, and we'll help you figure that out. What makes Reflections different? This cute picture is from one of our special artists this last year. I'm going to tell you why Reflections is different than other art programs. One of the reasons that Reflections is different is because we have a theme. The annual theme is determined by the National PTA Reflections Theme Search Contest, and 50% of the judging points are based on the interpretation of theme, which is determined by the art and the artist statement that the student writes. This poster right here can be downloaded from our Facebook page. We have the files there. You also have it printed in your leader's guide, and you can also purchase copies of it from the National PTA store. They're pretty inexpensive, or you can get them printed locally. So every year we have a national theme search. The theme idea will be selected by the National PTA to spark fun and creativity during the 2021 to 2022 Reflections program. So this is not for this school year. We already have the theme for this school year. It's not for the next school year. This is actually a mistake right here. So our 2019 to 2020 theme, this is not a mistake. 2019 to 2020 is Look Within. 2020 to 2021 is I Matter Because, and the theme that gets picked from this year's theme search will be for 2021 to 2022. So the student who submits the winning entry will receive $100 from the National PTA. We will not consider past themes or duplicate submissions, and that means that they're looking for the most original theme ideas. So there are 3 ways to participate. You can hand out the theme search entry forms, which are found on page 40 of the Reflections Handbook, and collect them from the students and mail them in to me at the Utah PTA office by October 30th, 2019. That is a very hard deadline because of my deadline to turn them into nationals. You can also invite the students to mail the theme search entry forms directly to the Utah PTA office themselves, or you can scan and email the forms to me at reflections@utahpta.org. It's okay if you don't have a scanner. If you have a smartphone, you can download a free scanning app, and that's a really easy way to save some money and get it to me quickly, and you may choose any of these options that works the best for you. So now we're going to talk about the steps to host a Reflections program. Number 1 is enroll your school at pta.org/reflections. Coordinate the review, which means the judging of student works. Celebrate your students, and wrap up and report success. Number 1, getting started. The first thing that I'd really like you all to do after this video is to enroll your PTA in the National PTA Reflections Awards program at pta.org/reflections. You can go there and go ahead and enter into it and see what they need. It will ask for a few pieces of information that you may not know right off the bat, such as your 8-digit PTA ID number. And it's okay to close it and come back later, or leave it open and get the information. It just takes a few minutes, and please do this by November 1st of this year. If you don't do it, you will not be disqualified, but it's really useful for us to have that, so please do it. We also need the councils and the regions to enroll their PTAs. If you don't have a hard copy of the handbook, which you should get, we are sending them to every school, then you can also access the handbook online, where we'll have some writable PDFs and you can print off any page that you need. Recruit some help. It's really great to have a co-chair and a committee to help you. I found that one of the easiest ways to get help is to ask someone in person, either with a phone call or in person, and to keep it really specific what you ask for, so that they feel like they understand exactly what you're asking them to do. You could say, hey, could you help us to find prizes? Hey, could you help run the awards ceremony? Or can you help us find some judges? Something like that. And then to find a team of experienced judges to review the students' works. So as you're getting ready to launch your program, first you need to decide which arts categories and divisions your PTA will offer. You get to choose. You can offer one or more of the available categories and divisions. Our categories are dance choreography, film production, literature, music composition, photography, 2D visual arts, and 3D visual arts. The divisions are special artist, primary, intermediate, middle school, and high school. I'll explain more about those later. You will want to plan and budget for your awards, and make sure that that gets put in your school's budget at the beginning of the school year. Recruit the committee to help you with all the different aspects of the program: promotion, judging, and the celebration. And then you can share your plans with your PTA and your school leaders, and we would love for you to share anything you want to on our Utah PTA Reflections page. So this year, the Leader's Handbook is completely rewritten. If you've seen it before, please take another look. It's different, and we've added some things at the request of a bunch of our reflection specialists. And one thing we've added is a leader's checklist, and this is a copy of that. You can customize your checklist by adding in your submission deadline, which you're going to set based on the submission deadline of the level above you. And I suggest having your deadline be about a month before the next level, which will give you enough time for judging and your recognition before you have to advance your winning entries. You can plan your judging period, you can plan your celebration event date, and make sure that you have current bylaws, insurance, and membership dues for this school year. If you don't understand what that is because you're the reflections person and not regularly on the board, then just talk to your PTA president, and if they need help, ask them to reach out to their region who will help them to get these things current. The next thing that you're going to do is promote your program. You will decide how to distribute the rules and the entry forms to students, teachers, and parents. You can choose to print the forms and have them available in the office for them to come pick up. They would need an entry form and a category rules form for each category that they enter in. You can also print the consent form on the back of the student entry form. You can also choose to direct them to go to the website and print them for themselves. Generally, we print the forms for the lower grade for elementary schools, and in the upper grades, it would be acceptable to direct them to the website to print it for themselves. You'll make sure to promote your submission deadline and instructions on how to enter, and consider offering a participation incentive such as a bonus recess, which is really successful with elementary schools. And studies have found that students respond more positively to a bonus recess than to a prize that is a sweet treat. And if you want to do that, just go and talk to your principal and ask your principal if you could have a reflections recess, and plan it right from the beginning of the school year. And we've seen a lot of really great success with that. Okay, so when you're announcing your call for entries, you can get these posters that we talked about before. There's also yard signs. You can print this in black and white or in color, and you can make them big or small, whatever works for you guys and your budget. Make sure to include the submission deadline down here, so you'll fill that in yourself, and where to turn the entries in, whether you collect them in a library or in the front office, on the stage, wherever you're allowed to collect them. Let them know where they can find the rules and the forms. Let them know who to contact with questions, so that would be your name and contact information. And if you are announcing it ahead of time, let them know when the celebration event will be held. This is a copy of our entry form. This top part right up here, you complete before distribution. And if you are distributing the forms to your students, a photocopy of the forms, you should fill this out first and then distribute, and then make copies and distribute it to them. We do have a writable PDF on our website where you can go and type that in. So we need all of this information: your 8-digit PTA ID, which you can get from your PTA president, the name of your PTA. If I were doing this for my kids' school, I would write Fox Hills Elementary PTA, the address of the school, my name, my email, my phone number, our council if we have a council, and our region number. If you don't know that, ask somebody. Down here you put the date that your membership was paid for this school year, the date insurance was paid, so the date on the check, and the date that your bylaws expire. This is something that your PTA board should be able to help you with, and if you guys need help figuring this out, please reach out to the higher levels, to your region or to the state, and we will help you. These are all required, not just to participate in reflections, but to be a PTA in good standing, and it is the law for insurance. So it's not a requirement from the state, it is a Utah requirement. So down here, the students will fill out this information filled out, and they'll check their division, their grade division, and their category. This is a mistake here, it should say category. I'm not sure if that mistake was actually made in the real one or not. I'll have to find out. And then down here, if they have details for their art, they would fill it in the one that was appropriate for their art. Right here, they put the title of their artwork, and down here, they fill in their artist statement, which is required, as well as the title, 10 to 100 words on how it relates to the theme, and that is very important. Okay, let's talk about the consent form. So the consent form has been very confusing in the past. We have adjusted it to make it more clear, and hopefully you will have a really great understanding of how the consent form works. The consent form is for any individual other than the student submitting the artwork, whose recognizable voice and or image is used in the artwork. The purpose of the consent form is to ensure that individuals included in reflections entries and the parents or guardians of minors included in reflections entries are aware that their images and or voices will be used in the artwork. It is also to help these individuals understand that the entry may be used by Utah PTA and National PTA, may be judged at multiple levels, and may be displayed in a number of locales, both public and private. The consent form should be used if a recognizable image is included in a reflections entry. This means anytime a person could be recognized from an image, usually involving all or part of the face, then the consent form should be used. The form should be used for any person, regardless of age, other than the student submitting the artwork, who has already had consent given for them by their parents signing the entry form. Here's some examples that require a consent form. These two photographs clearly show the person's face, and this drawing clearly shows a recognizable image. I can verify that it's recognizable because that is me. These do not require a consent form. These are all winners from the state for this year. Even though the names are written on here, these are cartoon drawings. You don't require consent to write someone's name or for their hands or for an image of a person where you cannot see their face. So just as a reminder, if in any of the categories where a person other than the student submitting the reflection entry is included, such as dancers, actors, performers, and his or her image or is recognizable, a consent form is required. For voices, in any of the categories where a person's voice, child or adult, other than the student submitting the reflections entry is included, and his or her voice is recognizable, a consent form is required. Reflections participants should make a reasonable effort to obtain a consent form from persons in their entries. However, in some circumstances, it may not be possible to obtain a signed consent form. For example, if a student is on vacation and takes a photograph of a group of children in Kenya, or if a student films part of his or her entry at a local parade and there are people visible in group shots, a consent form is not needed. Another example would be if the person that they depict in their artwork is not accessible, such as someone who is famous, a consent form may not be required. We make decisions on these on a case-by-case basis. The purpose of the consent form is to avoid being sued. So if you have any questions about it, please reach out and ask me at reflections@utahpta.org or on the Facebook page. We'd love for you to share your ideas on our Facebook page and tell everyone else how you plan to promote reflections, and just share that so that others can learn from your great ideas. Okay, the third step is to coordinate judging. You will collect and organize your submissions by arts category and division. So you'll divide them up. You'll have your literature, your dance choreography, music, and so on. And once you have it by category, then you'll divide it by division. Your primary entries, your intermediate entries, your special artist entries, they all should be judged. They can be judged by the same people, but they will be scored just per their division and arts category. You will then assess your entries to determine whether they are eligible to participate based on the rules for the category, and scan the submissions for completeness. You can use the student entry form checklist found on page 29. You will share the judging materials, which are also in the handbook, and the entries with your volunteer judges. There's several different ways to have your judging. You can take it to people and pass it around from person to person. You can have it judged at your school by displaying the works on the tables, fold the entry form in half, and instruct the judges to rotate around the room and complete their scorecards. You can even have online judging where you share digital copies of the student work using a cloud-based file sharing platform. Here's an example of some awards. After you have collected your scores from the judges, you rank the entries and determine the winners. The judges do not determine the winners. They just score them, and you determine the winners by adding up the scores. Obtain awards and prepare the entries for exhibition. Announce the award recipients to the school community and host a reflection celebration event to showcase the student work and distribute the certificates and/or awards. This over here is an example of what we did at the state this year. They were 1-inch thick acrylic two-sided picture frames, and I had printed photos, and that was really effective, and the students really liked it. Okay, so after you've done all of that, you will advance your Award of Excellence entries to the next level. Make sure everything is packaged correctly according to the rules in each individual arts category rules page, and complete the Advancing Winning Artwork forms and the Local to Council or Region Reflections Participation form. This is found in the Reflections Handbook. If the level above you asks you to submit spreadsheets online, instead of filling out these forms, that is completely acceptable and preferable, but we provide these if they are needed. Then you will deliver all your entries properly packaged, along with the required paperwork to your council or region reflection specialist by the deadline he or she provides. Okay, this is a really important chart that is also found in the handbook and can really help you to understand how many awards of excellence you get to advance. So you will find which configuration of school that you have, and look down to see how many awards of excellence you can advance. This is per category. So if you had preschool through 5th grade, in each category you can send 4 entries from primary and intermediate and 1 special artist. You are allowed to submit any combination of these age divisions as long as each age division is represented. The reason why you would send maybe one from primary and 3 from intermediate would be due to having a lot more entries in a division such as intermediate. So you can decide if you had 3 primary entries and 15 intermediate entries, then you might choose to send 3 intermediate awards of excellence and 1 primary, plus a special artist for a grand total of 5 per category. If you have all 7 categories, you might have as many as 42 awards of excellence to advance. If you have elementary school that includes 6th grade, you also get 1 entry for the middle division for a total of 5, plus your special artist for 6. Did I say 42 on this one? I think I did. 35. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42. So you could have as many as 42 if you are in K through 6, and you could also have as many as 42 if you are in a 7th through 9th, and that is because they have more divisions represented. These divisions are from national, how we divide this up. If you have 6 through 8, you get 4 plus your special artist. And if you have a high school, whether 9th through 12th or 10th through 12th, you also get 4. If you have questions about this, please reach out and ask, and I'll make sure that I explain it to as many people as need to know. So you rank your entries by division, category, and points as scored by your judges, and assign your awards based on the rankings. Make sure that every participating age division is represented in the entries who forward on to the next level of judging. The Award of Excellence is the top award and moves on to the next level. Only award the amount you are allowed to send on. Award of Merit is like second place. They do not move on. If you want to give more awards, you may give out honorable mentions, principal's choice, student's choice, etc. Entries may not be substituted between categories. You cannot send on an extra award of excellence in any category to make up for a lack of entries in another category. For example, you cannot send an extra award of excellence for literature due to not having sufficient entries in dance choreography. Send your full award of excellence allotment on to the next level. If the students made an honest effort and followed the rules, do not create an arbitrary base score that must be met for advancement. This does not mean that you will have a full allotment of entries, but if you do, please go ahead and send them on. It is very common to not have enough dance choreography, film, sometimes 3D art, and music, depending on your school and the participation, especially in junior highs and high schools. So you may have less entries because you cannot substitute between the categories. Okay, let's go over the rules per category. The students may submit 1 entry in each arts category for up to 7 entries if you're offering all of the arts categories. And they must follow the rules for general participation, the specific arts category, and the special artist division if they are competing that way. These rules are all found in the handbook and online. Only 1 student may create the work and be recognized as the award recipient, but other students may appear in the artwork itself. Dance choreography. Solo and ensemble works of all dance styles are accepted. The entrant must be the choreographer and may also be the performer or one of the performers. If background music is used, cite it on the entry form. If performers other than the student appear in the dance, a consent form is required. The file must not exceed 5 minutes and 1 gig in size. These are the accepted formats, and it must be submitted on a USB drive. We are not taking CDs this year. Film production. Accepted short film styles include animation, narrative, documentary, experimental, or media presentation. The entrant must be the screenwriter, cinematographer, editor, and producer. If background music is used, cite it on the entry form. If performers other than the student appear in the film, a consent form is required. The file must not exceed 5 minutes and 1 gig in size. These are the accepted formats. Use of PowerPoint or similar programs is prohibited, and it must be submitted on a USB drive. Literature. Accepted forms of fiction and nonfiction include prose, poetry, reflective essay, screenplay, and play script, narrative, and short story. The entrant may write in their primary language as long as an interpretive English translation is also attached. Use of copyrighted material is prohibited. The writing must not exceed 2,000 words. It may be handwritten or typed. It must be turned in on a single-sided piece of white 8.5 by 11-inch paper, and they need to include the original and 2 copies. It's all right if there's artwork included, but it will not be judged. Music composition. All music styles and combinations of instrumentation are accepted. The entrant must be the composer and may also be the performer or one of the performers. Use of copyrighted material is prohibited. The audio file must not exceed 5 minutes and 1 gig in size. These are the accepted formats. Notation is required for middle and high school divisions and is either needs to be turned in a score form or a tablature depending on the instrumentation. No CDs allowed. It must be submitted on a flash drive. Photography. The photo must be a single print. This says digital image, but we do not take digital images at the local levels. Collages and collections of photos are not accepted. The entrant must be the photographer and may use a variety of digital editing techniques. The print must be no smaller than 3 by 5 inches and no larger than 8 by 10. Accepted print formats include prints mounted on mat or poster board no larger than 11 by 14 inches. Framed prints are not accepted. This print can be a single photo, panoramic, photo montage, which is one print of multiple original photos, a multiple exposure, negative sandwich, or photogram. Original black and white and color images are accepted. Added graphics and lettering are not allowed. So the difference between a photo montage and a collage, for example, is that a photo montage is one seamless print. So the photo has to be a seamless print. It can't be cut and glued or taped. That would be 2D art. Visual arts. Works of both fine and design arts are accepted, including but not limited to architectural drawing and models, ceramics, collage, computer-generated images and graphics, crafts, drawing, fashion clothes and jewelry, fiber work, mixed media, painting, printmaking, and sculpture. For 2D, it must be mounted on sturdy material, no larger than 24 by 30 inches with the matting, and framed entries are not accepted. For 3D, we have a little mistake here. You need to, when you pass on to the next level, your awards of excellence need to, you do not pass on the actual artwork at that point. You just pass on 3 to 6 printed images of the artwork at different angles. So this year we have a page explaining the Special Artist Division in our handbook. The Special Artist Division welcomes students from all grades and offers non-artistic accommodations for students to participate fully in PTA Reflections. Student recognition and awards are announced as part of the Special Artist Division. The accommodations can be non-artistic accommodations such as adaptive technology, transcribing, or holding a camera. Assistants must refrain from being involved in the artistic process, such as developing an artist statement, choreography, music lyrics, or storyboards. If the special artist is not able to write a title or an artist statement, then that is not required for them. Students who identify as having a disability and may receive service under IDEA or ADA, Section 504, may enter in the Special Artist Division, or the grade division most closely aligned to their functional abilities. Originality, plagiarism, and copyright. I'll speak a lot more about this during the Beyond the Basics presentation. All artwork must be original. Adults may not alter the creative integrity of a student's work. Only one student may create the work and be recognized as the award recipient, but other students may appear in the artwork itself, and the artwork must be inspired by the theme for the year, which this year is Look Within. Use of copyrighted material is prohibited in the literature, music composition, photography, and visual arts categories. Please read the rules for further clarification on that. Use of copyrighted material is acceptable in the dance and film production arts categories when the title, composer, and performer of any music in the submission are cited on the student entry form. So now let's talk about wrapping the program up. After you're finished, return the non-advancing entries to the students, recognize your volunteers in some way, and evaluate your program to consider future improvements. Make sure to take some notes for what went well and what you'd like to change for next year, because you might not remember when next year rolls around. And please share your ideas. Please get on our Facebook group and tell us how you plan to recognize your students and what really fun ideas you've come up with. There's one more thing I'd like to tell you about, which is called My Discovery Destination. One of our Come Play with PTA partners also has some great resources available to help you with your Reflections program. Not only can they schedule some really valuable adventures themed around the Reflections categories, but they can help with getting rewards for participants, help you get reminders and information to parents in your area, and help you recognize your participants and winners, and this is completely free. If you're interested, you can text Utah PTA to 40691 and you can get hooked up with My Discovery Destination. Students who participate in Reflections have an opportunity for regional, state, and national awards and recognition. So that's really fun that they can move up the levels and even make it to nationals, where the top winners get a free trip to the national convention. For more information on council and region level programs, contact your council president or region director. Let's just have a little chat about the student entry portal. If you know anything about the student entry portal, forget it. The student entry portal is not for you. It is only for me to use to enter my state winners to the national level of competition. Please do not input local entries into the student entry portal. Next year we have some fun events that you can check out. There's a student art showcase and exhibit in January of 2020, and I think that they also show some of these online. They will announce the winners for nationals in May of 2020, and they will also have a celebration event and exhibit in June of 2020 at the annual National PTA Convention. If you don't already belong to the Utah Reflections page, please join. It's a really great resource, and here's some other Facebook groups that you might be interested in joining. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and get trained on Reflections, and thank you for being a Reflections volunteer.